Nandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rūpa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rūpam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome back to the Friday and Saturday morning series on the Sri Chaitanya-Caritāmṛta, Rūpa Śikṣā. We have been discussing the 19th chapter of Rūpa Śikṣā verse by verse. And especially it was important why we discussed this verse by verse is to firstly understand how Rūpa and Sanatana Goswami actually met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, received the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how they were able to get from the entanglement of material life and ultimately take full shelter of Mahaprabhu. That background was essential for us to know. Then, although Vallabhacharya, Vallabha Bhatta, understood the glories of Mahaprabhu, yet he could not get the full mercy of Mahaprabhu as Rūpa and Sanatan were able to get, and Vallabha also, the third brother, the three brothers. And how when Vallabhacharya took on the Ganga path to the Shashvamedha Ghat, Rūpa Goswami was instructed there. So we began with the Rūpa Śikṣā, if you remember, in the last class. Now from here onwards in Rūpa Śikṣā, we will be going in detail. We will be going quite more in detail, and we will be having more interactions here to understand deeply Rūpa Śikṣā. So we saw the overview, what is going to come in Rūpa Śikṣā from verses 135 to 237. Not possible to describe the Bhakti ocean, Bhakti Rasa Sagar. Then very rare to find a pure devotee of Lord. This is the theme we had been discussing in the last class, and only few verses we covered in this class, in this section. The next is a very important theme, that is the creeper of devotional service. which we will begin tomorrow. And after the creeper discussion, there is a symptoms of pure devotional service. And then there is devotional service and love of God at Krishna Prem. Then there are mellows, rasas, mukhya and gaun rasa. Then 2 types of attachments and the qualities of the mukhya rasas. And then there is a conclusion. So we began by discussing this theme, not fully able to describe the ocean of devotional service. Par apar, gambhir. It is par apar and gambhir, this bhakti ras. Shuno bhakti rasar lakshan, sutra kahe. I am giving you in a synopsis. Par apar, shunya gabhir. Gabhir, not gambhir. Gabhir means very deep. And then the position of the living entity in this material world. Very rare to find a pure devotee in this material world. So that was the theme, what we were discussing. And in this context, I will enlarge the screen. In this context, we saw that there are 48 lakhs of species in this material world. And they are in different forms. We went through the purport quite in detail. And we saw the verse Mahaprabhu is quoting as to the size of this soul, the spiritual dimension of this soul. Keshagra shatake bhaga puna shatam shakari tara sama shukshma jivera swarupa vichari. So this is the spiritual dimension of the soul. And we saw the first reference, Keshagra shata bhagasya, then another reference, Balagra shata bhagasya. And then the third reference we saw was from the Uddhav Gita. Just like in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there is Vibhuti Yoga, where Krishna identifies himself with the different material manifestations which attract us. So here he identifies himself with the jiva. Śikṣā nam apya aham jiva. So we saw this. And the fourth reference was from the personified Vedas glorifying that the living entity is a minute particle of the part and parcel of the Lord. It is not the supreme controller. So these were the 4 references we saw from the various scriptures to prove the dimension, the spiritual dimension of the soul. Now further, this classification he continues. There are 84 lakh varieties of species in which the soul can inhabit in any of these different species. Now he makes a further division. From here onwards, we are continuing today's discussion. Tara madde stavar jangam duhi ved, jangame tiryak jal salachar vibhed. The unlimited living entities can be divided into 2 divisions. So there are living entities in this 84 lakh species. And now a broad classification is done that there can be 2 divisions. Tara madhe, stavar jangam. What are the 2 divisions? Those which can move and those that cannot move. Stavar means that which cannot move. And jangam means that which can move. Dhuhi Bhed. And within jangam, there is tiryak, jal, stalachar, vibhed. Tiryak means those which fly. Among the living entities that can move, that is jangam, there is the birds which fly in the air. Then there is jal. Jal means which the living entities which can move in water. The ones which can move in air, which can move in water and move on land. And animals. So animals move on earth element. The birds move in the air element. And the fish or the aquatics move in the water element. So this is a further classification Mahaprabhu is doing. So here, among the living entities, there is Stavar and Jangam. And within Jangam, there is Tiryak, Jal, and Stalachar. So this division of Tiryak, Jal, Salchar has been done based on which material element these moving move. This moving, Jangam, move. So the Tiryak, the birds move in air element. The Jal, that is the aquatics, move in the water element. And the other species which move on the earthly element, on the earth element. Now, just a question here. So we living entities, we move on what? Anyone would like to answer can raise their hands. There are two questions to raise. Dr. Archana Mataji, yes.
Earth element, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Panchamahabhuta. One of them is on the earth.
Oh, I'm not able to hear the audio from your side. What is the reason? Okay, I had to change this. Yes, yes. Now can you once again repeat?
It's earth element, Panchamahabhuta. Earth element.
There is some technical problem where I cannot hear the audio. Maybe you can type it then. I don't know why the audio is not clear. Let me see the settings. Yes, it is earth, correct. Hare Krishna. Let me see now whether the audio is clear. Sunita Mataji, what was your answer?
My answer was same, Prabhuji, but we can move in the air also and on the water also, in the water also.
Okay, yes. I wanted to get this answer. I wanted to hear this answer from all of you. No, that's not true. That we can move in air and water. In fact, how long can we sustain within the water? In fact, when we go inside the water, we wear a particular kind of a dress, just like the fish has a dress of an aquatic body. We also need that kind of a special, suit which we wear, and then we need to go with oxygen inside within the water. And the fish has a natural body which it has by which it can breathe, but we don't have that kind of a body. So that's why even if we go inside the water, how long we can sustain? 1 day, 2 days, but not permanently. That's first point. Secondly, in air, we can take a parachute and move in the air, but how long? Or we can go in a flight, but even the flight body is made of earth element. Even the parachute body is a supportly earthly element. So like that, the desire to go within the water, the desire to fly in the air is all there because the living entity has been acquiring all these different kinds of bodies in different species of life. That is the reason. But generally, we move on earth. Earth is the natural habitant. In fact, that is why even if somebody is, say, sailing in a ship, the ship is made of earthly element only. It is iron, but it is moving in water. So there is a lot of discomfort one faces while sailing in the ocean. There is a lot of discomfort because it is not compatible. Because we are earthly, we are having earthly bodies. So the natural habitant is earth. So when we are in the watery body for a long time, then there is a lot of within the body constitution, there is a lot of disorientation. And that's why you see when Srila Prabhupada took his journey in the Jaladut, seasickness, dizziness, no digestion, no hunger, and Prabhupada got 2 heart attacks. So it's not so natural. So that's the point which I wanted to clarify, that we are specially Stalachar, that is moving on earth. So let us now come to Prabhupada's purport. Very, very interesting purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving clear instruction on how the living entities are under different conditions. There are trees, plants, and stones that cannot move, but still they must be considered living entities or spiritual sparks. So the trees are also spiritual sparks. There are plants which are also spiritual sparks, and stones. So even the stones are spiritual sparks. This is very difficult to fathom, but we can all understand that the mountains also are living beings. The Vindhyachal mountains, the Himachal mountains, and all these mountains. And we know in the previous ages, these mountains would fly, but Indra cut their wings, and that's why they are very upset with Indra. So the thunderbolts also, they break the stones, and that's why they are enemies. Both of them are enemies. But within the Govardhan Leela, although so much thunderbolts were slashed, attacked on Giriraj, but there was no effect. That's why Giriraj is the king of the mountains. And Giriraj is also a person. He's a person. He's a devotee. So they are all spiritual sparks. In fact, just to make a point, that when the deity installation, especially the deities can be made of different dhatus, especially when we select a stone to carve as a deity as per Sthapyatya Shastra, the Shastras which give the dimensions or how one has to carve the deities, they have to look for a stone, and especially a living stone. A living stone. A living stone is actually that stone, a worm should enter from one side and it should have gone from the other side. So that is considered as a living stone. So such a living stone only the Sthapatyas select and then carve. And then there is the Prana Pratishtha also done. But that is considered as a living stone. And we know in Nepal, there is the Gandaki Nadi. And in these shaligrams are naturally found because the insects, they, inspired by the Paramatma, they do some markings which are in the form of Sudarshan or Kurma, and that's why these shaligrams are known by Kurma Shila or Narsimha Shila or Sudarshan Shila. So even stones are spiritual sparks. That's the point. The soul is present in bodies like those of trees, plants, and stones. They are all living entities. So we should respect even the stones because they are living entities. Maybe they are in covered consciousness. Ahalya was cursed by her husband to become a stone. And when Lord Ram put his foot, she was released from the curse, and from there she manifested her again form. So we know that. Among moving living entities such as birds, aquatics, and animals, the same spiritual spark is there. So Prabhupada is mentioning about Tiryak, Jal, and Stalachar. These are the birds, aquatics, animals. The same spiritual spark is there. As stated herein, there are living entities that can fly, swim, and walk. So fly is Tiryak, which the birds are. Swim is the aquatics. We can also swim, but how long? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? We cannot forever swim in the ocean and be inside the ocean. And then there are animals which walk. We must also conclude that there are living entities that can move within fire and ether. So Prabhupada, see how her natural conclusion he is bringing about. When there are living entities which are in air, which can move in water, which can move on earth, then definitely there are living entities which can move in fire and ether. They are more subtle. And their bodily constitution is made of fire, more of fire and ether. So this is how Prabhupada brings a conclusion. Living entities have different material bodies composed of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So the living entities which are in water are, the fish. So they are more composed of the watery element. The living entities which are on earth, they are earthly bodies. The living entities which are, moving in air, they have more air element, and that's why there are wings. Then There are fireflies, we know, which can sustain or live in fire. This is proved by science. So similarly, in the sun planet, there are living entities which are made of fiery bodies. And more subtle is the ether, the living entities made with ethereal bodies. The word Staramade means within this universe. The entire universe is composed of 5 material elements. So the subtlest of the subtlest material elements are there in the higher realms, and then the more grosser come in the middle planetary systems, and still grosser come in the lower realms. So like that, the material elements are distributed within the entire 14 planetary systems. All are composed of 5 elements, but the quantity is different. So in the sun planet, the quantity of fire element is more, the earth element is less. So like that, different degrees of composition are there of the 5 elements. All the 5 elements are present, but in different degrees. It is not true that living entities reside only within this planet and not within others. Such a conclusion is completely contradictory to the Vedas. So here Prabhupada is smashing the scientists who have this theory of philosophy that there are only living beings on Earth planet and there are no living beings in other planets, as though we are very special. So this is this is Kupa Manduk Naya, a frog within the well. He thinks only, I am living here in this well. There are, there is nothing beyond this well. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is proving his statement by quoting Achedyoyam adayobya adayobya adayoyam akledyo shosha evacha nitya sarvagata stanur achaloyam sanatana. The individual soul is unbreakable. Achedyoyam. Ched means it cannot be divided. It cannot be broken. Adhayoyam, insoluble. It cannot, mix with water, and it doesn't mix with water. Akledyo, it can neither be burnt or dried. Shosha evacha. He is everlasting, nitya, present everywhere, sarvagata, unchangeable, stanu, immovable, achalo, and eternally the same. Ayam means this soul, sanatana, it is eternal. So Prabhupada is quoting this verse to prove that the living entity resides everywhere. Nitya sarvagata. Sarvagata means it can move in all the 84 lakh varieties of species. The soul has nothing to do with the material elements. Any material element can be cut to pieces, especially earth, but the soul cannot be cut to pieces. Achedyoyam. As far as the living entities are concerned, however, they can be neither burned nor cut to pieces. Adhayoyam. Adhayo means it cannot be burnt. It can therefore live within fire. We can conclude that there are also living entities within the sun. Again, Prabhupada is, with this reference, he is proving this. Why should living entities be denied this planet or that planet? According to the Vedas, the living entities can live anywhere and everywhere on land, in water, in air, and in fire. And this verse of the Chaitanya-Caritāmṛta also proves that. Taramade, Stavar Jangam, and in Jangam there is Tiryak, Jal, Stalachar, Vibhed. So this verse itself is proving they can move in different material elements. They can move in earth material element, water element, fire element, air element. Whatever the condition, the living entity is unchangeable, sthanu. And now sthanu means the living entity constitution doesn't change, although it is moving in all these different elements. Just to give an example, now we are in an earthly body. Now, if I take a stone and, hit a person, a heavy stone, person is lying on the ground, I hit a person with a stone, then that person can die. But the soul cannot be killed like that. That is the point in the Gita also. Similarly, I set a body to fire. So there is death, but still it doesn't mean that the soul dies. Because of hurricanes, there can be deaths, but still the soul cannot die. So like that, the soul's constitution is unchangeable because of the material conditions. The material conditions, earth, water, fire, air, cannot affect the soul. From the statements of the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Bhagavad Gita, we are to conclude that the living entities exist everywhere throughout the universe. Sarvagata, Nitya Sarvagata. Sarvagata means it can move in all the 84 lakh varieties of species. They are distributed as trees, plants, aquatics, birds, human beings, and so on. So this is the verse which Mahaprabhu is, Prabhupada is very nicely explaining. Now, with respect to this verse and the purport, if you have any questions, I would like to take up. Yes, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhuji, as it is mentioned, ki soul, it cannot be burned, it cannot be destroyed, it cannot be killed. What happened when death happens? What happened to subtle bodies like mind, intelligence, and ego? What happened to that?
Yeah. So what happens to the subtle body? In one sense, even the earth, water, fire, air, ether, they are eternally existing in a subtle form, in the form of Pradhan. And during the creation, it is manifested. So the energy remains as it is. This is, there is no transformation. The transformation we see, it goes through this transformation matter. But in essence, if you see, it is also, there. It is unmanifested in the beginning. It is manifested in the middle, and it is unfasted and unmanifested. These changes matter goes through. Now the soul, which is engrossed in the subtle body has all the impressions and the vasanas and the desires which the soul has. And this subtle body travels with the soul to acquire another gross body. And this is what we call as transmigration. And in the Gita, Krishna speaks in 2.22 about the dress, changing of the dress. So the soul transmigrates from one body to another body based on the impressions or the vasanas or the desires in the subtle body. So the subtle body being very subtle, because the soul is attached, it carries these impressions from one life to another life. And that's why spiritual life means purification of the subtle body as well as the gross body also. And only when we become completely free from all desires, then there is no material desire, then the subtle body is pure. So then the soul is disentangled even from the gross and the subtle bodies. Then the soul is liberated. Then it can go back to the spiritual world. So that is the point. Yes, Partha Sarthi Prabhuji. Let me unmute you. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Do we have to respect the stones?
We have to respect all living beings based on their level of consciousness. Based on the level of consciousness. In fact, the whole creation is a manifestation of the Lord. It is like a body of the Lord. So that is why we discussed in one of our seminars that Kapil Dev in his Kapil Śikṣā mentions about living entities in different grades of consciousness, levels of consciousness. He begins with inanimate. Inanimate are the stones. Then there are animate. And like that, in that there is development of sense perception, like only smell, only taste, smell and taste, like that. And then ultimately to, the animals, the four-legged and the two-legged, And then within the two legs, those who are below the Varnashram, then those who are in the Varnashram, and within the Varnashram, there are the topmost living beings, the Brahmanas, and within the Brahmanas, again, there are gradations. So all these living beings within the creation, they are at different levels of consciousness. So we should respect them. We should respect them. There should be awe and reverence even towards this creation, because this creation, which is a manifestation, this universe is a manifestation of the Lord's energy. So seeing the energy, we should remember the energetic Krishna, and we offer respect to this creation because it is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. So in that sense, it is for us an act of devotion, and we should do that. I hope it is clear.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Archana Mataji. A lot of questions. One verse we discussed and a lot of questions. Okay.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Does it mean that we should respect all the things which are made up of Pancha Mahabhuta?
Yes, because
Okay.
everything is an energy of the Lord. And there is non-difference between the energy and the energetic. Shakti, Shaktiman, Abheda. There's non-difference.
So, I mean, the sand, bricks, cement, door, things made of, I mean, the locks, keys, everything should be respected.
Yes, everything. Everything is the energy of the Lord. It is
Okay.
Nirapo Anulovayo Kham Manurbuddhirevacha Ahankariti Amme Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada. There is the eightfold energies of the Lord. This is Krishna's energy. So that is the
Okay.
philosophy.
And what all things come under the topic of ether element?
Ether is very subtle among the gross elements. In fact, we cannot sense it much. But Srila Prabhupada gives a very simple example that the presence of sound is because of the ether. So sound travels to the ether medium. And that's why, being subtlest of the gross elements, we can respect ether because we are speaking now, because I'm speaking, the soul is speaking, and there is air and ether. That's why the sound is being transmitted. Who are sitting in front of me and we all who are sitting here, because of ether element. Transmission is happening because of ether. And we can respect ether when especially sound, spiritual sound vibration is vibrated. And material sound, we avoid it. Anukulisa sankalpa, pratikulisa varjanam. So that's how we can practice devotional service, by knowing what is favorable vibrations, sound vibrations, we accept those, and which are unfavorable, we reject them. So that is the anga of bhakti. That is the anga of Sharanagati. So that's how we should see ether also.
Are we referring to space here?
Yes, it refers to space. Space is how it is designated as. But again, it's a very difficult concept to understand how, ether is within space, and it's a difficult thing to know. But the best way to know is the presence of ether can be recognized by sound. That's the best way.
Yeah.
Sunita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, we have to respect the 5 elements. Just now Mataji asked you how should we respect, she asked about the stones and the Pancha Mahabhutas, Pancha Tattvas, she asked.
Yes.
So practically, how can we respect in our day-to-day life?
I'll tell you an interesting story. Prabhupada was, when he sent his disciples to build the Vrindavan temple, and Prabhupada landed in the Delhi airport, and Gurudas Prabhu, was the temple president. He had gone to receive Prabhupada, and first time he was traveling with Prabhupada towards Vrindavan, and he was thinking that Prabhupada would speak about very esoteric pastimes of Radha and Krishna because we are going on the way to Vrindavan. Prabhupada did not speak a word about anything. He was completely grave and silent. And the first thing, he stopped at the Krishna Balaram temple and he asked, "What about the cement? Where is the cement?" I want to see the cement because cement is required for the construction. So everything, what is manifested in this universe, every element is Krishna's energy. How we respect is that we use that in Krishna's service. We use that in Krishna's service. That is how we can respect. And not use in our sense enjoyment. We are trying to enjoy matter. We are trying to enjoy matter. Our bodies are made of matter, both gross and subtle, but the soul is spiritual. And the soul is trying to enjoy matter in this material world. It can be gross in the form of eating gulab jamun, which is made of matter. It's earth element, there is juice, there is water element in that. And then there is, subtle kind of enjoyment like hearing fine music, rock music. So sound, we are trying to enjoy sound. So all kinds of gross and subtle enjoyment we are trying to do. The way we respect is, we use all this energy directly dovetail in the service of the Lord. And when it is dovetailed, then it is spiritualized. It gets spiritualized and we make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so let's go. I want to finish one more section in this today. We will go to the next verse. Now, further, in Stavar and Jangam, there was 2 divisions done. And within Jangam, it was mentioned Tiriyak, Jal, Stalachar, Taramade. Now, within that, Mahaprabhu is speaking the next verse. Taramade Manushya Jati, Ati Alpatar, Taramade Mlecha Pulinda, Bhauda Shabhar. Now, within the sculpture moving, even the animals come, but also human beings come. And within this sculpture, there are 2 divisions. Taramade means sculpture. Sculpture. Within the sculpture, Taramade, Manushya Jati Ati Alpatar. The human beings are very, very, very small. So we feel very great that there is huge human population, there is overpopulation. And within a small space, there are millions and trillions of flies, insects, which we can't even see also, microbes, unlimited. So that is why Ati Alpatar, although the living entities are known as human beings, Manushya Jati, are very small in quantity, Ati Alpatar, that division may still be further subdivided. What is the division? There are many uncultured human beings like the Mlechas, Pulindas, Baudas, and Shabaras. Within the human beings, there is this 4 divisions: Mlecha, Pulinda, Bauda, and Shabaras. They are below the Varnashram. Okay, the next verse. Veda Nishta Madhe, Ardaka Veda Mukhe Mane, Veda Nishiddha Papa Kare, Dharma Nahi Gane. Now these, the Mlecha, Pulinda, Bauda, and Shabar, they don't follow the Vedas. Now further, among the human beings, there are those who follow the Vedas. That is being spoken in 146 text. Veda Nishta Madhe. So among these, those who follow the Vedas, they are called as Veda Nishta. And within the Veda Nishta Madhe, among human beings who are followers of the Vedic principles, are considered civilized. Human being is civilized only when he follows the Vedas. Otherwise, he's as good as a 2-legged animal, Dvipada Pashu. As long as one is not following the Vedas, that means he's an animal. That's it. He's not civilized. He's not Arya. So Mahaprabhu is further classifying within the human beings. He has classified into 4 categories, then the Vedanishta. And within the Vedanishta, there are only among these, almost half simply give lip service while committing all kinds of sinful activities against these principles. Such people do not care for the regulative principles. Veda Nishiddha Papa Kare, although they are followers of the Vedas, but still they commit sin. Dharma Nahi Gane. They are not following the actual principles of the Vedas. They are only giving lip service. So now there is a very interesting purport to this by Prabhupada. Prabhupada is now explaining, because the Veda Nishta was mentioned. Veda Nishta means you have to have faith in the Vedas. So what actually is Vedas is Prabhupada explaining in the purport. The Veda means knowledge. It comes from the root dhatu vid. Vid means to know, knowledge. And what is that knowledge? Supreme knowledge consists of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead and our relationship with Him and acting according to that relationship. Action in accordance with the Vedic principles is called religion or dharma. So Veda means knowledge. Knowledge means knowledge about Bhagavan, our relationship with Bhagavan, sambandha. Acting according to that relationship, abhidheya. And these actions which are done according to the Vedic principles is what constitutes dharma. And ultimately there is prayojan also, Krishna Prem. The karma kandis also act according to Vedas, but they have a desire for calm. So the karma kandis have dharma and they follow dharma because for artha and calm, sense gratification and enjoyment. And these are the karma kandis. The nishkama karma yogis also act according to the Vedic principles, but with a desire for liberation, moksha. And the jnanis and the yogis also have a desire for liberation. So that is their prayojan. But the bhaktas, they also act according to the bhakti principles. They are the special part of the Vedas, the bhakti shastras, and they follow the highest dharma, which is called as paro dharma. That is by which they can attain pure devotion to the Lord. And the highest goal is Krishna Prem. So I explained there is adharma. Adharma means the path of sinful life, which those who are not in the varnashram, they are doing. They are doing actions just for enjoying without following the rules. Then there is the pravritti marg and the nivritti marg. Within dharma, there is a pravritti marg and the nivritti marg. The pravritti marg is the path of sensual enjoyment, regulates its enjoyment by following the Vedas. So there are the karma kandis in this, dharma, artha, kama. This is their desire. The nivritti marg is when nishkama karma yoga matures, one becomes jnana nishta, then he does nishkama karma yoga with desiring not the fruits, but in order to attain liberation. And then when he has perfected his path, then he takes up to the nivritti path, that is the jnana yoga, the ashtanga yoga, the path of renunciation, by which he wants to get liberated, moksha. So this is the dharma path, wherein there is pravritti and nivritti, and then there is the paro dharma, that is bhakti, where the goal is prayojan. So Prabhupada is explaining a complete understanding of what the highest purpose of Vedas is. Vedeshu sarver aham eva vedyo. Religion means following the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a definition of dharma. The Vedic principles are the injunctions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharma tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Aryans are civilized human beings who have been following the Vedic principles since time immemorial. Arya means one who is civilized, one who is following the Vedic principles. No one can trace out the history of Vedic principles set forth so that man might understand the Supreme Being. So the Vedic principles are there since the dawn of creation. Literature or knowledge that seeks the Supreme Being can be accepted as bona fide religious system. But there are many different types of religious systems according to place, the disciple, and the people's capacity to understand. So here Prabhupada is explaining the highest literature is the Vedas, which seeks the supreme being Bhagavan. That is the most bona fide religious system. But there are other religious systems which are given based on time, place, and circumstances, and based on the people's capacity. So this refers to especially, the non-Abrahamic religions. The Abrahamic religions and the non-Abrahamic religions, especially Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and all. They are given based on time, place, and people's capacity. And now Prabhupada is saying the highest type of religious system is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Savai pumsan paro dharma yato bhaktir ajokshuche. So this is the highest religious system. I spoke about this, para dharma. There is adharma, there is dharma, and there is paradharma. So paradharma is what we have been given by the mercy of Prabhupada. The highest form of religion is that by which one becomes fully conscious of the existence of God, including his form, name, qualities, pastime, abode, and all pervasive features. When everything is completely known, that is the perfection of Vedic knowledge. The fulfillment of Vedic knowledge is systematic knowledge of the characteristics of God. So Vedic knowledge means you have to have a systematic understanding of the characteristics of God. That's why Prabhupada said in today's age, this definition of Bhagavan, Aishwaryasya, Shamagrasya, Virasya, he has all opulence, all beauty, all strength, all knowledge, all renunciation. This is a very practical definition of Bhagavan. So we should have a systematic Tattva Gyan of Bhagavan. That is the fulfillment of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedesha cha sarver aham eva vedya. One should know the Supreme Lord by studying the Vedas. The aim of Vedic knowledge is to understand God. Therefore, those who are actually following the Vedic knowledge and searching after God cannot commit sinful activities against the Supreme Lord's order. So, Prabhupada is coming to the point that the actual aim of Vedic knowledge is to know Bhagavan, and those who know Bhagavan, they never commit sin. But those who are so-called followers of Veda, who are committing sin, that means they don't know the actual purpose of the Vedas, and that's why although they are following the path of Vedas, they are committing sin. That is what Mahaprabhu is saying. However, in this age of Kali, although men profess to belong to so many different kinds of religions, most of them commit sinful activities against the order of the Vedic scriptures. That means they are not following the real dharma. They are not following the highest dharma. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Ved nishidha paap kare, dharma nahi gane. If they are following the Vedas, they should not commit sin. But they paap kare, they are doing sin. That is why they don't know what is real dharma. In this age, men profess a religion, but they actually do not follow the principles. Instead, they commit all kinds of sins. They only commit sins. So, Arjuna was also fearful based on his Swadharma that if I don't fight the religious war, then I'm committing sin. And that's why he did not want to commit sin. So if I do my Kshatriya duty, I will be killing. That is also sin. If I don't do my Kshatriya duty, I'm acting against the Kshatriya dharma given in the Vedas. I'm committing sin. Both way I'm committing sin. So he was indecisive what to do. So the path of Vedas is meant so that the man leads a pious life without committing sin, and ultimately come to the highest point where one can always remember Krishna. Then one will never commit any sin. So it is gradually meant to elevate one to pure devotional service. And that's why Prabhupada is quoting this verse, Save Pumsan Paro Dharma, in the purport. So the Vedas take us from adharma to dharma, and from dharma to parodharma. That is the point here. Text 147. Dharmachari madhe bahuta karmanishta koti karmanishta madhe eka jnani shreshta. Now the division within the human beings. There are those who are Bauddha, Mlecha, Shabara, and within this they will find Vedanishta, and within the Vedanishta also very few actually follow the Vedic principles, and those are following the path of Vedas very meticulously, and they are called as Dharmachari. Within Dharmachari, there are many who have only Karmanishta. There were Vedanishta, now these are Karmanishta. They have Nishta only doing karma. And Koti Karma Madhe Eka Jnani Shreshta. Among the followers of the Vedic knowledge, most are following the process of fruitive activity and distinguish between good and bad work. Out of the many such sincere fruitive work actors, there may be one who is actually wise. Jnani. Jnani means wise. Now this purport is very interesting and you have to carefully, we'll carefully discuss this. Prabhupada's purport. I don't know what is the time. Let me see. Okay, we have 10 more minutes. We can finish this purport and discussion. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that the word karmanishta refers to one who aspires to enjoy the results of his good work and pious activities. What is karmanishta? I will do karma, actions. I will do actions as per the Vedas with the desire that I can enjoy in this world or in the next world in the heaven. So that is pious activity. Punya. Some followers of Vedic principles offer everything to the absolute truth and do not aspire to enjoy the results of their pious actions. Now please mark this statement. Bahuta karmanishta. This verse spoke. Now, there are some among these, most are karmanishta. They want to do actions according to the Vedas, but with a desire to enjoy. But some of them within them, they also do actions according to the Vedas, but don't desire the fruits. And they offer all the works of their action to the absolute truth. Now, this discussion requires little knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, but we will not go into more depth of the Bhagavad Gita because that will become a different class altogether. But I just want to discuss here that here this refers to Nishkama Karma Yogis. The Nishkama Karma Yogis, they do their karma as per whatever, whether one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they do their karmas as per the Dharma Shastras, but they don't desire the fruit. And they do their actions and offer the results to the absolute truth. So this is called as karma arpanam. Arpanam means to offer it to the Supreme Lord. So there is an element of devotion because whatever actions they are doing as per their nature. Kshatriya is doing, he has his nature, he is doing his actions of Prajapalan, Kshatriya Dharma. Brahmana is doing his Brahmana Dharma and they offer it. Now there is a difference between karma and bhakti. Bhakti, the very act we do, we are spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and all our actions are meant to please Krishna. When we do this, this is direct devotional service. Whereas karma means, my nature is what? My nature is that of a Kshatriya. I will do my Kshatriya duties as per the Vedas and without desiring the fruits, and the actions what I do, then I offer it. That is called as karma arpanam. This is a very important point to be noted. Just like let us take an example of a Vaishya. A Vaishya, he is attached to land. His nature is to cultivate land. So he is attached to doing that work. He will do the work of cultivating the land and the crops come up and then he offers the crops to the temple of the deities. So he does the karma and then he offers it. Karma arpanam, this is called. So this is what is being stated. These are also considered among karmanishta. Now, very important point Prabhupada is mentioning, they are also considered karmanishta because they have nishta in what? Their karma. The Vaishya, he has faith in, doing agriculture. His faith in bhakti has not yet awakened. Only when he comes in touch with a pure devotee and hears Jata Shraddha Mat Katado Nirvinna Sarva Karma and gives up all other activities and only hears and chants, then his faith is now in bhakti and he starts practicing devotional service. Till then, he has faith in only his karma. So that's why they are also karma nishta. But there is a little slight difference. They are attached to their work, the karma kandis. Here they are attached to performing their actions, but they are detached from the fruits with a desire for liberation or offering to the Lord, karma arpanam. Whether one earns money for himself or for the public benefit, he is called karmanishta. Out of millions of karmanishtas, there may be one who is wise, jnani. Now Prabhupada is speaking about the jnani. Those who try to avoid fruitive activity and become silent in order to merge into the spiritual existence of the absolute truth are generally known as jnanis or wise men. So, jnani means who understands that if I do actions, there is reaction, and that reaction is binding this material. I want to get out of this material world. Every action binds me in this world, so I don't want to do any actions. That's why jnani just wants to go to the Himalayas and just, wants to contemplate on the Paramatma and read Upanishads, Vedanta, and he wants to negate the material world and ultimately merge in the absolute truth. They are not interested in fruitive activity, but merging into the supreme. In either case, both the karma nishta and the jnanis are interested in personal benefit. The karmis are interested in bhukti, the jnanis are interested in mukti. This is also personal benefit only. This is subtle sense gratification, Prabhupada says. The karmis are directly interested in personal benefit within the material world, and the jnanis are interested in merging into the existence of the supreme. The jnanis maintain that fruitive activity is imperfect because it binds us. For them, perfection is cessation of work and merging into the supreme existence. They want to give up work altogether because work binds, and then ultimately they want to merge into the spiritual existence. This refers to the Gyan path or the Ashtanga Yoga path. That is their goal of life. The Jnani wants to extinguish the distinction between knowledge, the knower, and the aim of knowledge. This philosophy is called monoism or oneness and is characterized by spiritual silence. So again, we will not go into the philosophical discussion of the karmis and the jnanis here more in detail. For that, we'll have to do a very systematic study of the Bhagavad Gita. But just to give you one understanding of what this knowledge, knower, and aim of knowledge is, just to give you an understanding, this is Jnana, Jnata, and Jnanam. Jnana, Jnanam, and Jnata. Or in the Gita terms, it is called as Jnanam, Geyam, Jnanagamyam. The object of knowledge, knowledge, and the goal of knowledge. No, that is a different terminology. Let's not go into that. Jnana means knowledge. Knower means Jnata, that is the soul, and the aim of knowledge. So to explain these terms, I will just mention what is the Jnani's perspective. See, I am a conscious being. I am the subject. And there is an object, there is another person. He is also conscious being. And there is stream of consciousness which is flowing from the subject to the object. I become conscious, oh, somebody is observing me. He might also become conscious, that's, somebody is seeing me, because there is a stream of consciousness which is flowing. from the subject to the object, and similarly from the object to the subject. Like light, there is a source of light and there is a stream of light which is coming out, which is falling on object. So the Gyanis, or the Gyan philosophy, the philosophy of monism is what? There is no conscious subject, there is no conscious object. What exists is only consciousness, all pervading consciousness. So that is their philosophy. What exists is only consciousness. Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. Only there is Brahman, there is all pervading consciousness. So they deny the individual existence of the conscious being, that is the individual conscious being, that is Atma, and even the supreme conscious being, that is the Paramatma or the Lord. What exists is only consciousness. So they extinguish this, that there is a subject consciousness, there is an object consciousness, and there is a stream of consciousness. So there is knowledge, knower, and aim of knowledge. So like that, we can understand what Prabhupada is trying to say here. I will take another verse. No, it's time up. We will end up here. Tomorrow we will come to the further division of what Mahaprabhu is saying. So any questions regarding up till now what we discussed? Any questions, any clarifications? Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
When I was not in Krishna consciousness, so I used to pray for the moksha. But now since I know there is one thing called as serving lotus feet of Lord Krishna, so I am willing for another wish. So does it come under the category of karma with the expectation of its fruit?
No, can you pardon? Can you once again repeat your question? I could not clearly hear it.
See, when I was not in Krishna consciousness, so I used to ask for moksha. It's a
Okay.
generalized question, okay?
Yes.
Now, since I know there is a higher purpose, so I have developed the higher taste to serve lotus feet of God in the Godhead.
Yes.
So keeping that desire is also, and keeping that desire in mind and working towards it. So does it fall under a category of karma with the expectation of fruit? Does it come under the sakam karma?
Yes, yes. Got it, got it. So
Yeah.
no, it doesn't come. We are now practicing some core devotional activities. That is hearing and chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, reading Gita or reading Bhagavatam, hearing Krishna Katha. These are directly devotional activities. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. These are direct devotional activities which we do during our 24-hour time, whatever we do. These are direct devotion activities which are done for the pleasure of the Lord. And there are other activities during the day which we do to maintain our body, maintain our family. These actions also, we should do it ultimately because the house, the family members are also Krishna's part and parcel. The house, Krishna is the proprietor, and to maintain Krishna's house, I am doing these duties. So that should be the mood. But when we do these actions, ultimately for the pleasure of the Lord, it doesn't fall in the category of karma nishta or having faith in karma. It is devotional activity only. But there are again subtle divisions in it, which we will not go into now. But one thing we should understand, that direct devotional service, that is chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, taking Krishna Prasad, hearing Krishna Katha, reading Gita and Bhagavad, these are direct devotional activities. Other times, we cannot continuously 24 hours chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra or 24 hours read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. There are other actions what we do to maintain body, family and all. Those actions, we should try to dovetail them in Krishna consciousness. We have to try to dovetail them. And if we are doing this, ultimately, so that we can attain Krishna Prem, that is not considered as, a desire of a karmi or a jnani. It is a pure desire. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that sadhana bhakti, if one practices to attain sadhya, Krishna prem, sadhana bhakti, if it is done to attain sadhya, Krishna prem, that is anya abhilashata shunya only. So that we should have a clear understanding. Let me serve the devotees and please, so that, ultimately they'll bestow mercy and give me Krishna prem. If we have this kind of a desire is favorable to the soul's desire, ultimately, because it is the soul which desires love for Krishna. So this is favorable. This is a spiritual desire, and it is completely favorable to pure devotional service.
So it also comes under Nishkam Karma.
It doesn't come under Nishkam Karma, is a different category. A little bit, it has a division which we cannot go into it. Karma means you have faith that I am a Brahmana, I am a Kshatriya, I have to do my Kshatriya karma. And this is based on your nature, Swabhava. My nature is that of a Kshatriya. Based on the Swabhava, there is a Swakarma. There is a kind of activity you are inclined to because of your nature. And there is a Swadharma, that is a Kshatriya dharma. Now we have our natures, but we have understood our original spiritual nature. Jivera Swabhava Krishnara Nitya Das. So understanding that knowledge of the soul's nature, we are directly engaged in our spiritual nature, that is devotional service. So all devotional activities are directly the activities of the soul in relationship with the Supreme Soul. That's why that is bhakti. Then we have our nature. I am inclined to do my profession as a, craftsman or as a businessman because I have the inclination of a Vaishya businessman. So that nature which we have, which is part of our subtle body, that we are, we have that nature. We do those activities. Ultimately, indirectly, we try to connect it to devotional service. We try to dovetail them so that they also become favorable to our practice of pure devotional service. So pure devotional service means, completely 24 hours doing bhajan. That's it. But it is not possible. Only one who is liberated can do that. But we have our conditioned nature. The conditioned nature, understanding our constitutional nature, we make the conditional nature activities so that we maintain our body, maintain our families, which will help us to do more our constitutional activities, that is pure devotional service. So that's how we balance in our bhakti practice.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yes, we will wind up now for today. Tomorrow we will continue our discussion, and tomorrow we are going to begin a very important topic. That is, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finishes this classification among the human beings now, then he will come to this classification that how rare it is to find a devotee of Krishna, and how now this devotion service begins. How it begins, how our devotional service begins. So how our devotional life has begun, we will take that journey. How everyone came into devotional service, what was that journey? And ultimately how this journey can lead us to Krishna Prem. Mahaprabhu is going to describe that. It is a very, very important discussion. So stay tuned, and we will resume our discussion tomorrow. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Hare Krishna. Shri Chaitanya-Caritāmṛta.